Hola a todos y bienvenidos a un nuevo podcast conmigo, Lewis, y mi amigo Chris. Chris, ¿qué tal? How are you? How's it going?
I'm really good, thanks, mate. Yeah, obviously it's Monday today when we're filming this. I think it's a regional holiday in Spain. So Gijón, unfortunately, Asturias, is not one of those lucky regions with the day off. So I can hear the busy streets, the shops are open. But yeah, it's a good weekend, very sunny. I was a proper English tourist just sitting there in the sun. I got a bit burnt, but I think you can't really notice it. I'm a lot more conscious of the dangers now that I'm older. So I was using sun cream. I think if any of our listeners have heard the word sunscreen, it's just the American version, but it means the same thing, protector solar. So yeah, now that I'm older, I'm very careful with the sub. I did burn a little bit, yeah, but lovely weather. How about you? How was your weekend in Belgium, or were you off away somewhere, or?
I was off away, so of course for Holy Week, Easter week in the UK, it is a bank holiday, a public holiday on the Friday, Good Friday, and on Monday, Easter Monday. So given that my fiance had a bit of time off work, we flew back to the UK, spent some time with my family, saw my nephew, my sister, my friends, and it was also quite interesting because my future in-laws from Sevilla actually went to Leeds and Manchester to
Mm,
spend time with us. So I was being like an interpreter and a translator half of the time so that my parents could speak to my fiance's parents. And it
yeah.
was very cute and it was very funny as well because my mum has been studying a bit of Spanish
Oh,
and
really?
my mother-in-law has been studying English as well. So they were just about getting by and having a conversation, kind of half in English and half in Spanish. And of course, I was there to give them a hand, to help them to translate certain things when necessary. But yeah, it was a family weekend for Easter. And I ate a lot of chocolate because, in the end,
Yeah.
in the UK, all we do to celebrate Easter, if you're not very religious, is eat lots of chocolate eggs. It's
Yeah.
great.
Love an Easter egg. Absolutely love an Easter egg. I love what you said about your mum and your mother-in-law as well, because my mum does the exact same thing. Whenever I'm in a serious relationship, which doesn't happen very often, but yeah, the couple of times I have been in a serious relationship with a Spanish girl, my mum starts to learn Spanish. And then as soon as the relationship ends, she stops. It's like, "Mum, you can still learn Spanish, Mom." It's like, "No, I don't need it." Like, she only wants to learn Spanish if, for example, she needs to communicate with my girlfriend or their family. But yeah, for the last 5 years, my mum hasn't needed any Spanish classes because I've been single. But it's such a mother thing to do, is it? It's very sweet and it's really nice, and they make that effort with the intention. I mean, I don't want to speak for your mother, but I guess it's the intention just to be able to communicate with this new family.
Absolutely. I think my mum has always kind of liked languages because she studied a bit of French and German when she was at school. But then, ever since I moved to Spain the first time and started going out with my fiance, she wanted to have an extra hobby of learning another language, but also to be able to feel like she's not the typical lazy Brit
Yeah.
of forcing other people to adapt and make the effort so that everybody speaks in English. So there is room for improvement. She could definitely improve her conjugations, masculine and feminine, and she could be more fluent and confident as well. But with a language, it's a journey and she's very
Yeah.
consistent. She's been studying Spanish for the last 5 years now. So she can get by, as I was saying. She can defend herself. Ella se
Yeah, great
defiende.
phrasal verb.
She can get
Yeah, I
by.
love that phrasal verb, to get by. Very commonly used in a financial sense as well. When we say, a family is getting by every month. Again, very similar meaning. They just have enough money, that not more than they need, or, maybe, yeah, not even enough, but just enough to survive. So, yeah, with the language to get by, present simple, present simple and hand gestures. That's all you need. Yesterday, I drink a beer. Yeah. Tomorrow, I play football. Yeah, as long as you got the hand gestures and the present simple, you can get by.
Clay. So yeah, you can get by in a language and you can get by financially if you can just make it to the end of the month. A nice equivalent for this, if you want to say llegar a fin de mes in English, you can say make ends meet. So I
Yeah.
don't earn a lot of money, but I can just make ends meet. I can just get by.
Yeah.
But let's move on and let's get started with this week's topic, which is all about have you ever? So it's using this really common present perfect question to ask if somebody else has done something in their life or not. So Chris and I are going to take it in turns to, off the top of our heads, come up with a question and ask each other if we have ever done something. And then when we want to be specific, then we can use the past simple. So first, present perfect to ask the question, have you ever? Followed by past simple to give more specific details about when it happened exactly. So, Chris, how does that sound
Perfect.
to you?
Yeah, perfect. I'm glad you mentioned, obviously, that little grammar tip for our students, because it's a very common problem I hear from my students. I have gone to London last week. No, as Lewis said, generally, yeah, I've gone to London. When? Oh, I went last week when blah, blah, blah. So I'm really glad you mentioned that. No, so I mean, if you don't mind, I'd love to crack on. Sorry, I don't know what happened there. That was a brain fart, as we would say in English. That was a real obvious mistake that I have no idea why. Oh, you know why? Because I was thinking kick off and crack on. That's probably
Oh,
why I was mixing kick off with crack on, crack off. Let's kick on, or kick on works with both. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting distracted. If I could kick off, Lewis, have you ever ridden a motorcycle?
Um, Chris, no, I have never ridden a motorcycle. In fact, it's something that I have never done. Even when I was traveling around Southeast Asia, in Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, everybody recommends that the cheapest way to travel around is by motorbike or scooter, etc. But I don't know. Maybe I'm a bit of a coward, or I didn't want to do it in a foreign country that I'm not used to with like crazy traffic.
Yeah.
And I drive sometimes, but I don't particularly enjoy driving. So for me, I've never really been that interested in riding a motorbike. Never say never. Maybe I'll do it in the future, but it's not something that appeals to me. So no, I have never ridden a motorbike, but let's see in
Okay.
the future, maybe.
Yeah,
Now,
no, I've never ridden one, but I've ridden. I don't want to use the expression to ride and then B word, but I've ridden on the back of a motorcycle when my friend was driving and I was riding. Yes, because I love the expression, but I don't know if we can get away with using it on YouTube and Spotify. But anyway, yeah, riding on the back of the motorbike, I have done. Yeah.
now, tell me, continuing with the same topic, have you ever done one of these extreme activities, such as skydiving or bungee jumping? Have you ever done either of these two scary, intimidating, adrenaline junkie activities?
But those 2 specifically, no. I was trying to think of any kind of, yeah, danger, kind of extreme sports, and I think I've gone, I can't when I was younger, as a teenager, I'm pretty sure I did some white water rafting, which is when you're in the kayak and you have to go through those dangerous I mean, I was a teenager, it wasn't that dangerous, but a little bit of that simulation. But no, sorry, those 2 specifically, I have never done them, and I would never do them. Never. I do not like heights, so there is no chance in hell. A very good emphatic way to say definitely no way. There is no chance in hell I would bungee jump or skydive. If I had to choose one, a second conditional sentence, if I had to choose one, I would choose skydive, probably. That they both terrify me. But skydive, I don't know, the bungee, it's the you go down, but then you have to experience it like 4 or 5 more times that, and that terrifies me. At least with the skydive, it's once you get to the floor, it's done. I mean, even with the bungee jump, correct me if I'm wrong, but when it's finished, they pull you back up. So that's another 2 minutes of terrifying, like just looking at the ground, going higher and higher. Like, yeah, for me, I have never done them and I wouldn't ever do them. What about you? Just quickly, the same question. Have you ever bungee jumped or done a skydive?
Absolutely not. I'm terrified of like heights, and I'm just terrified of many things. I like to have my feet on the ground, and I don't like the feeling even when you're at a theme park and you're on a roller coaster and you can feel like your stomach like jumping and you get that strange
Yeah.
sensation. So I don't like roller coasters. I would hate the idea of a bungee jump.
Yeah.
And then skydiving, I can kind of see why people want to do it. And I can imagine that once you do land, you'll look back on it and think, wow, that was
Yeah.
incredible. That was amazing. But I'm not brave enough to go up in a small aircraft and look down, even if you know you've got a parachute and you've got somebody who's like on top of you. So you
Yeah.
should be absolutely fine, of course. But that moment, I think I would pass out, meaning I
Yeah.
think I would faint. Creo que me desmayaría. I think I would faint. I'd pass out. So then, if they're recording it, they would just look at me like completely unconscious,
Oh,
not
yeah.
enjoying any of it. And then I'd get to the bottom like, okay, I'm alive.
Yeah.
Thank God.
I don't remember any of it, but I'm alive. Yeah.
So yeah, I've never done any of these things, and I don't think I will ever do them. If I've never
No.
ridden a motorbike partly out of fear, then you can imagine that I'd never do any of these things
Yeah.
either.
That's quite a jump. Yeah, yeah. Hey, I didn't even that's quite a jump. Sorry, I didn't even realize that pun, but what a great pun. So then let me ask you another question, Les. Have you ever eaten an unusual type of meat? And when I say unusual, I mean from a Western British perspective, chicken and cow, these are normal for us. But have you ever eaten an unusual meat?
Well, I have never eaten like insects really. I've never eaten, I don't know, spiders or
Ugh.
scorpions or any of these things that you see in some very exotic markets. That I have
As
never
soon as
done.
you said spiders, I got an itch on my shoulder, like, oh God, where is it? Sorry, yeah, but carry on, sorry,
Horrible.
yeah. Yeah, yeah,
But I mean, I have when I was living in Australia, which was maybe like 6 years ago now, maybe a little bit longer ago. I did try kangaroo meat, and I guess that's kind of weird because it's not something that, of course, we have in Europe or anywhere in the world except
yeah,
Australia. And well, when I was there, I discovered that it's relatively common. You can buy it in supermarkets. They have it on certain menus at different bars and
yeah,
restaurants, but I don't think it's most people's favorite meat because the meat, the flavor is a little bit tough. So it's not very tender, it's not very soft. But I tried it because, when in
yeah.
Rome, do
When in
as the
Rome.
Romans do, which is a lovely way of saying, I think in Spanish, donde fueres, haz lo que vieres. That is, when in
Okay,
Rome, do as the Romans do. So I was in Australia, so I thought,
yeah,
why not try kangaroo meat? Because There are too many kangaroos in Australia, so the government and people actively encourage that people eat kangaroo because they are like overpopulated. I think they're very cute, so I feel bad
Yeah.
eating the meat, but it's something that people do recommend you do because there are too many of them. And
Yeah.
Chris, you also tried kangaroo meat?
So yeah, that's how I got the idea for the question. I was thinking, yes, I have also tried kangaroo meat. And it's interesting that you mentioned about there's too many of them because in Australia they are considered a pest. And a pest, not a pet, guys, not a pet, but a pest is a not any one specific animal, but kind of a classification of animals. So in London, the pests would be the rats, whereas in Australia, the pests are considered to be the kangaroos. They're classified as being overpopulated, and as Lewis mentioned, encouraged to eat them. Yeah, I mean the very common expression in English, it tastes like chicken. You know, it's a very common expression which just means it doesn't. I mean, even if it doesn't taste like chicken, we use this expression just to say it tastes like any kind of meat, really. Like it tastes like chicken. Yeah, it tastes like chicken.
Like, perfect. Now, moving on to the next question. I've got one. And I'm thinking now back to when I was at university and I first started going out and getting drunk. And then there were a few times where I would wake up in the morning and I'd try to think what I did the night before. And sometimes I wouldn't be able to remember details. And this is like when you have like a blackout. Having a blackout is like when you don't remember what happened the day before or the night before. So, Chris, have you ever had a blackout where you didn't remember what you did the night before?
And we are including drinking alcoholic drinks.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, okay, then yes, yeah. Simple answer. Yes, I have many times. Yeah, had blackouts. I actually one of the reasons I stopped drinking rum. I used to drink spiced rum and Coke, like Captain Morgan's, um, Sailor Jerry's was a very common brand in the UK. And one of the reasons I stopped drinking rum and Coke is because I was having blackouts, even if I didn't drink that much. For some reason, the rum doesn't work well with my memory, or I don't know what. But yeah, I used to get blackouts a lot with rum and coke. I remember one anecdote at university. I woke up in the morning and I rang my girlfriend at the time, and she wouldn't pick up. I was like, oh, I've done something wrong. Turns out I broke up with her.
Oh my God.
No memory of that. Yeah, I feel bad now. I feel terrible about this, by the
Oh,
way.
wow.
I'm not bragging about this. I feel
No
like a
wonder you're
horrible
single.
human being. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, no, this is when I was 19, guys, but no, I do feel horrible for that. But yeah, so I actually stopped drinking rum and cokes because I have had many blackouts because of specifically that spirit, spirits, the gin, rum, vodka, these types of drinks, copas, I think they say in Spanish, but or licore or alcohol. Like, do you know the word for spirits, Lewis?
I mean, alcohol fuerte,
Yeah,
I guess that's one option. Another one is just
yeah.
alcohol.
Alcohol, yeah, it's like alcohol. It's not beer or wine or cider, basically. Yeah. But what about you, Lewis? Obviously, you asked the question, so I'm guessing there's a story here. Yeah.
I mean, the annoying or embarrassing thing is that there isn't really a story because I don't remember. So
Yeah.
that's the thing that I remember it would happen where I would wake up the next day and I'd be wondering like, wait, what did I do? What happened? I remember going there and going to the other place, but then there would be a gap in my memory where I'd be incapable of remembering what happened. And then maybe you'd ask your friends, like, oh, what did we do? Where did we go? What happened
Yeah.
there? And they'd have to fill you in, meaning they'd have to give you the information. They'd have to fill you in on what happened. And nowadays, to be honest, most of the time I only drink beer or wine, kind of like you were saying. So then I still get a hangover, but
Yeah,
usually I won't have a blackout. And if it's
yeah.
a blackout, it'll just be a couple of moments that maybe I don't remember. But then if someone reminds me, it comes back to me. I start to
It
remember
jogs
again.
your it jogs your memory. It jogs you, like, gives you that, oh, it gives sería el empuje, a tu memoria. I don't know in Spanish, but yeah, that jogs your memory, yeah. Awesome. Well, then
Perfect.
let me ask you another question, Liz. This is a very common question I ask my students when we're practicing the present perfect and past simple for experiences. Have you ever met a celebrity?
Hmm. Well, I'd say yes. There are a few
We're not
people I
we're
could.
not counting Instagrammers, eh? We're not counting Instagrammers. That doesn't count.
No, no, no. So there are a
Yeah.
few people that I've met more or less. One of them would be a relatively famous Spanish football manager who I teach occasionally. And I
Oh,
met
okay.
him because his wife was at an English academy where I was teaching when I moved to Seville. And this is the previous manager of Real Betis, Pepe Mel is his name. So I have a relationship with him as a teacher
Nice.
who sometimes teaches him when he's out of work or similar. So that's one. I guess he's not a huge celebrity, but for certain Betis fans, they will be
Yeah.
like, amazing, perfect. And then another one I could say is when I was in Liverpool, I was at university there, and the first year, 2 years more or less, I was working part time, helping to sell tickets for nightclubs and bars, and helping to let people into the bar. And I remember a famous actor like walking past to enter the bar, and I was like, "Ah, I know him. What's his name?" And I didn't actually speak to him, but I recognized him perfectly. And it's the famous actor Stephen Graham, who is uh, a Scouse actor. He's appeared in so many different things.
Yeah.
He an amazing actor. Most
Yeah.
recently, I suppose he was the dad on this series, Adolescence, on Netflix. And he's very Liverpudlian. He's a Scouser. I didn't speak to him, but I let him into the bar, and I remember clocking him immediately, being like, "Okay, that's a famous actor, isn't it? Ah, cool." But I didn't have the balls, I didn't have
Yeah.
the bravery to go up to him and ask if I wanted an autograph or a selfie because, I'm a chicken, as we clarified earlier.
Yeah, but it's also maybe respectful as well. I don't like approaching celebrities for autographs or anything like that. But I do have a great anecdote. I think I'm going to beat
Go on,
you
man.
here, and I'm really sorry. I don't mean to one up you, which is a great phrase to mean to tell a better story in an arrogant kind of way. Like I've got a better story. No, I don't want
Okay.
to one up you, but I'm going to one up you. So I was living in Mexico, and my boss at the English Academy said that there was a job available for translation from Spanish to English to set up a concert stage. So for a music concert, I didn't think anything of it. I was like, yeah, as long as I get paid, happy to do it. So I went to this venue. It was outside. I was helping with the translation, guys from England, from the UK, and construction workers from Mexico, and kind of, navigating and translating that. Can you please put these plugs over there? And then, it's quieren que puede, blah, blah, blah. That was a terrible translation, but you know what I mean. Anyway, so blah, blah, blah. That's the context. So I'm sitting at the hotel that, they paid for us to stay at a hotel over the weekend. Guess who walks in? Sting. Sting.
Okay.
And if anyone doesn't know who Sting is, he was the lead singer of the Police. I'm sure anyone over the age of 30 will know who Sting is. and a really down to earth guy. And down to earth just means like con los pies al suelo. We use down to earth to describe celebrities who are just normal human beings. And he was so down to earth. He came over. My sound tech guys, the team, the English guys, his team of sound engineers. They said that you were really helpful today. Tell me, like, what's an English guy doing in Mexico? Was it difficult to learn Spanish? He only wanted to know about me. And I'm sitting here with Sting, and I want to ask him about how did you get the idea for Roxanne? Did you know that at university we have a drinking game for your
Mhm.
song Roxanne? But no, he just wanted to talk about me, and he was so down to earth, so nice. He approached me, spent 5, 10 minutes chatting with me, said thank you again for all the hard work I'd done, and then went off with his family and his sound crew. So nice. So yeah, I'm sorry to one up you, but Sting, that is a
Mm.
big name. That's like, that's
I mean, it
Bruce
sounds like this
Springsteen
is the
level.
best day of
That's
your life.
it was. Yeah, had I got paid for this, or have I got paid for all this work? Oh, I didn't see the concert, unfortunately. They said we were able to, but then I think the tickets oversold, so we weren't allowed to watch the concert. Yeah, but I met Sting, so I was happy with that.
Absolutely buzzing. Absolutely
Yeah.
buzzing. Which is a nice way of saying you are absolutely excited. You are over the moon. You are delighted. It was your day made.
It was a great day. Yeah. The fact that he was down to earth, the expression in English, never meet your heroes. Which, I mean, Sting's not my hero, but it's a good expression to mean these famous celebrities. We see one side of them, but in reality, they're a completely different person. But no, Sting was very down to earth. Really nice guy.
Quite fantastic. Now, let's move on and finish with one more question each. So, my next question is hmm, Chris, have you ever given a big presentation or speech in front of people? It could be at work, it could be at a different event, it could be teaching a class in front of loads of people, or maybe giving a speech at your friend's wedding. Have you ever done any of this public speaking?
So I think public. Yes, one anecdote. Obviously, the reason I emphasize public, Instagram lives, do they really count? Or I've done best man speeches at a wedding, but it was during COVID, so I did it via video call. But there is one anecdote where, yes, I was literally giving a presentation to about 400 people in a
Right.
lecture hall. I was again in Mexico. I was working for how would I describe it? It wasn't an English academy. It was a company that worked with English universities to help Mexican students get visas, get the IELTS certificates, the
Mhm.
English level, international level exam, and then be able to study. So I was kind of a liaison, a middleman between the universities and the students, and helping them with their IELTS preparation specifically. And so, yeah, in that job, we went round Mexico, just spreading the message of the company. And yeah, I did about 4 or 5 in different Mexican cities, presentations of about 30 minutes to 400, 500 people. Luckily in English, because obviously the idea was English universities and I was allowed to speak in English because in Spanish that would have been terrifying. But yeah, I think I've got that personality. I mean, there are courses you can do and there are tools and, training methods to get better. But I do think some people just have that ability to not get nervous. And maybe I do get nervous, but when I'm up there, I can just do it. I've got one of those kind of personality types where it doesn't terrify me, but I do obviously get nervous. Yeah, before I ask you my main question, the last question, just quickly, the same question for you. Have you ever given any big presentations, but like in public, a conference or something like that?
I mean, not like a big thing. Of course, you mentioned and touched on the fact that our jobs, what we're doing now, we are public speakers at the end of the day. So I've done many Instagram lives, I've done many podcasts, all of these things, and many, many classes in front of a lot of people as well. But usually
Yeah.
when it's classes, you're in front of, I don't know, 20 people maximum, perhaps 30. And more often than not, it was two people, I don't know, maybe five people, 10 people maximum. And to be honest, I do panic a little bit. I'm able to stay calm and get through it. And of course, if I prepare it well, then it's much easier.
Yeah.
But I get a bit sweaty. Sometimes my voice can go a little bit. And you can tell that I might be shaking a little bit when I know I have to give a big speech or class and it's very important. And I think sometimes these nerves actually help me to deliver a better job and perform better. But at the beginning, I need to break the ice and try
Yeah.
and find some kind of rapport with the audience to be able to start feeling more confident, calm down, and do the job well. Because naturally, I'm not an extrovert, and naturally, I'm not a good public speaker. But as with anything, if you do it so many times, you start to get
Yeah.
used to it and it becomes like second nature. But in front of hundreds of people, I think I'd have a panic attack, to be honest.
I think preparation was a key word there as well. I think, yeah, if you prepare it well, then you can go into it a lot more confident. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, well, then my last question to finish, I was trying to think of a slightly fun one. So, have you ever committed a faux pas? I believe this is the same in Spanish. A faux pas, a socially awkward or uncomfortable moment. Have you ever, for example, asking a not pregnant lady how many months pregnant they are? Again, I'm just saying that as an example. That's a faux pas. But Lewis, have you ever committed any, memorable faux pas? Because we all commit faux pas, but any memorable faux pas?
I think what I could say here would be that there are certain secrets that my fiance or friends will tell me that I have to keep these secrets. And then without realizing, I'll go and hang out with the people involved in this secret. And then I might ask them a question, and that question would reveal the fact that I
Yeah.
know about it. And then other people might find out as well. So, an example would be that a couple of friends have just got engaged, and I knew that he had the ring for quite a long time before. And I think I got away with it. Like, I escaped without punishment. But I think I asked the now fiance and bride to be, like, so yeah, did what's his name tell you about your plans for the honeymoon yet? And I said something along these lines, something similar, which would reveal the fact that I know that they're going to get married, even though at that point they weren't engaged yet. He hadn't
Yeah.
popped the question, he hadn't proposed to her. And I think it was all right because it was a group scenario. So she didn't fully understand, or maybe she thought that I was drunk and I was a little bit
Yeah.
mental. So then she didn't take it seriously.
Was
But
it
I'm
in
sure there are
Spanish or in
many more.
English? Could you use second language? Sorry, guys. Say if it was in Spanish, you could always play that card. Second language. So I don't know what I'm saying. Yeah.
It's like, oops, maybe I'm
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
confusing you with someone else. I was thinking about, no, John, not Juan. It's fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sure there are many faux pas that I have committed. And on that
Yeah.
note, let us know in the comments, everybody. Which of these things have you done? So, have you ever ridden a motorbike? Have you been bungee jumping? Have you ever been skydiving? Have you ever eaten exotic or strange meat? Have you ever given a speech or a presentation in front of hundreds of people? Let us know if you've done any of these things or the other questions that we've answered. And hopefully, this has been a good way to practice your English listening skills whilst learning a little bit more about us and how much of a chicken I am And I think Chris is a little bit similar to me as well. So both of
I'd say
us,
maybe more so. Yeah.
we're absolute cowards, both of us. I'm sure you're not as much of a coward as we are. But no, that'll
100%.
do, everybody. Thank you so much for watching or listening. Thank you, Chris, for joining once again. And we'll be back again in a week or so.
Awesome. Take care. Thank you, guys.
Bye bye. Take care.